Let's get it Star Wars. Let's get it Star Wars in here. Let's get it Star Wars. Let's get it Star Wars in here.
A small rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio,
your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Oh yeah, chut everybody. Welcome back to Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force, where we leave no fan left behind. No fan left behind here at Rebel Force Radio. This week's show for September 2nd, 2021. And right as I was about to hit record, I saw this very nondescript, unmarked white van sitting in my driveway. I thought, well, that's strange. What's that about? And he slowly pulled out. Very dark windows. Had some rust spots on it. Just kind of sketchy. It looked like something that what Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern would be riding around in as the Wet Bandits, like that kind of thing. And so I just instinctually, I opened my door. There was no knock. There was no bell or anything. And I looked down. There was like 6 boxes from Walmart.com. So I got this big Walmart delivery right before we started the show. And I just started thinking, like, even Walmart's delivery system is a little sketchy. You know, like, I mean, they're not going to use like UPS or FedEx or USPS. They use some guy in a white van. I know that, but you know what? Let's just assume that this is a guy, this is an entrepreneur. He saw the inefficiencies of the big mailing services and he's like, I can do better. So we'll champion him. But I have the stuff that I got. It's all Star Wars, but I didn't want to look at it too in depth because I wanted my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack, to look at it with me.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Yeah, I was going to ask. I was like, Walmart delivery. There better be some Star Wars crap in those boxes.
There
so
is.
I'm curious to know what you got. And of course, you need to keep your eye open on your mailbox for a little birthday gift from me that should be showing up maybe today. And I think you'll like it a lot. And without giving away too much, you can safely assume there will be Star Wars crap in that box. That's for sure.
If I hear the doorbell while we're recording, I'm going to run up and get it. I'll get a notification too on my phone. Let's see okay, nothing yet. But yeah, so I got the Walmart. Now grab these, and the only reason I'm really talking about them is because these were offered during one of those. Be online at the stroke of 1 p.m. Eastern and hope that you can get these. And so what did we get? We got the Tuscan Raider. This is all vintage series, and there's some green on here, so the green screen's not holding up. So this is the vintage collection Tuscan Raider, which the vintage collection for Star Wars fans is these are supposed to be the definitive versions, action figure versions. So every time they come out with one. We got a nice soft goods cape or cloak on this one. Let's see. It looks like crap because of the bubble, but anyway. So Tuscan Raider. We got here's one. I feel like they've done this a number of times recently, but this is one of my favorite looks. This will also do pretty poorly on the green screen because there's a lot of green in this, but this is Endor Luke.
Oh yeah, that's a good looking figure.
It's a really nice looking figure, and they finally got the poncho. I think the colors on the poncho to match. I remember the old vintage days. It was almost like a bright green, on the poncho instead of that sort of that dusty tan. But now these guys come with not just an ignited lightsaber; they come with a hilt. Just the hilt. And the one disappointment here, though, is that the helmet is not removable. And in today's day and age, don't you expect the helmets to be removable?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I mean, ever since
strange
removable helmet Vader. Although, Jim, you probably remember better than I do. I don't think the vintage one from '83, the helmet was removable. Leia, Endor Leia had a removable helmet.
Okay.
But Luke did not. But Luke was that last, I think he was part of that last 13, the power of the Force. Because I don't even, you didn't get those while they were coming out. Weren't you kind of post-collecting at that point? That was post your collecting when they came with the coins?
Yeah, around 85, I swept into some toy shop clearances and scored a lot of those now legendary, hard to find action figures, but they were all in a clearance bin, one of those big wire baskets just filled from the floor up to my waist. Just flipping through all those.
See, I have dreams about stuff like yesterday. That now, walking into a store and you see all this stuff.
That's how I got back into collecting after taking a break. Once I got into high school, I was like, I'm not really buying toys. I think by 8th grade, I was thinking I had outgrown toys. It was time to be an adult. I wasn't going to buy any action figures for Return of the Jedi. And about 3 years went by when I just couldn't resist it. And, I was working. I had a job working at a gun club for skeet shooters. So I ran these skeet tournaments.
Would you do the pulls?
16 years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pull?
Oh, I did the pulls. Yeah. Yeah. There were two guys assigned to each trap field. One guy was worked in the clicker. When they'd say pull, you'd hit the button. And a lot of times they wouldn't say pull. They would just make a noise. There's this one guy named Helmut, and he would just scream at the top of his lungs. He was this big, rotund guy, and he would just go, ah! And that's when he was supposed to hit the thing. And it was so loud you could hear it from several fields down. And they would always turn around and look at you like, hey, that was a late pull. You had to be right there when they say pull.
Oh, well, yeah.
And with Helmut.
Because it's your fault if they miss, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And they would let you know. And these are guys with 12 gauges.
Yeah, named Helmut.
And you're 16. So, but with Helmut, I would look for the little jiggle of his belly. And when I saw that, that's when I would hit the thing. So I was always just right on with Helmut.
Oh,
and then the other part of the job was being down partially underground in what was called the trap house. And it was a box, a concrete box, and you'd go down into the thing, and there would be cases of clay pigeons. And every time the machine would fire, the arm would reset, and you would drop the next clay pigeon on there. And then if the shooters were up there yelling, pull, 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 one after another, you would hit that button, and a kid wouldn't be ready down there. And so then you'd see this explosion of clay pigeons at ground level. Well,
and imagine they're very brittle, right? They're fragile.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very fragile. Yeah. Very fragile. But also, you know what else is also fragile? Your thumb. And when that arm would come around on the machine, it would fire at about 60 miles an hour. And if your hand was in the way, that would be very painful. So I saw a few broken thumbs in my couple years there working at the gun club.
And did you make the clay pigeons right there in-house?
No.
Like making donuts in the morning if you were, you bought it.
We did fill 12 gauge shells and stuff. We, made the ammo that we could do.
Oh, wow.
That was,
I never knew this about you. I mean, we've known each other for a long time. I never knew
it was my
that you
first
worked at a
job.
skeet range.
And so I was there for a couple of years and all year round too. And that's how I was able to then afford those 50-cent action figures when they all went on clearance.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah. It really does.
I worked at a driving range. That's so not quite as dangerous. Although,
no,
if there was, I would drive around and pick up the balls in that golf cart. And if there was a hole in that net, you never know what could happen.
Oh yeah,
those guys. Yeah. And they would aim for you. You're out there on their, they would aim for you.
Been there, done that.
I got one more figure here.
What else?
For those of you in the UK, I got the Death Star droid, which is I just love on the vintage card.
Can I just say I find the crotch of the droid to be a little I don't know, puffy looking.
It is a little,
there's something puffy about it.
It's like he's got a Depends on or something.
Yeah,
a little diapery.
Mm-hmm.
Little diaper,
or maybe he's just he's packing some heat in there, kind of like a shock absorber of some sort in there.
I don't know. I mean, do we ever get that good a look at Death Star droid? We could see if that's film accurate. I'm sure one of the visual guides has, but guess what? They sent me 2 of every one.
Why?
I haven't figured that out yet.
Oh,
I got to go back and look and see if I actually bought. I don't buy 2 of every one anymore. So the only thing that I use the Walmart app, and I just wonder if I had somehow hit the button to increase the quantity to 2. So Jimmy Mac, if you need them part of your collection, they're yours, and they're minty. And I know the vintage stuff because those are Walmart exclusives, and this is part of the Lucasfilm 50th anniversary wave. And which is interesting. It's odd to me that they're celebrating 50 years of Lucasfilm before they're celebrating 50 years of Star Wars, which I don't want that to be rushed because that also means that I'm 50. But it's just an odd play. So what? 50 years since American Graffiti? Here's your Death Star droid? Like, I don't.
Yeah. Can you even like legitimately celebrate anniversaries for Lucasfilm? It's been absorbed by the Disney Corporation, so it's not even really
that's
a company of its
point.
own. I mean, it is a company. Yeah. It's a subsidiary of Disney, but
it's a label, man. Don't you think? It's a label. It's a logo.
Well, sooner or later. I mean, they've been able to hold on to a lot of the elements of what made Lucasfilm unique. Being placed up there in San Francisco where they're at. George moved the company up there to keep away from Hollywood meddling. And now the company is run out of Hollywood, but also they have their facilities in San Francisco.
What's fascinating to me is, so much has been made and written and discussed about the culture at Pixar. And I compare Pixar to Lucasfilm in a way. I mean, Pixar has had an on again, off again relationship with Disney up until just 10 years ago when they just out and out acquired them. But they too, started under George Lucas. Then it went to Steve Jobs, and you got 2 very, very kind of contrarian, rebellious types at the helm there. And then what that sort of turned into was this incredible incubator of creativity, and nothing was off. Nothing was out of sight. Nothing was out of bounds for them. The way that they sort of groomed their directors by having them, start obviously lower on the totem pole. It was almost like a factory, but it was like a creative factory. And as I say, there are books and documentaries about it. I don't know without George, I don't know what the culture of Lucasfilm is really. Right. Yeah. To me, it doesn't have an identity like Pixar had an identity. And so I don't know. I can't, without George there, I just don't know what Lucasfilm is. And I'm sure it is something. I'm not suggesting that it's not. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I find it interesting that they're celebrating the 50th anniversary on Star Wars action figures, but whatever.
Yeah. Because you assume they're going to be doing that 6 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Star Wars 50th.
Here we go, another 50th anniversary. And then there'll be the 50th anniversary of Empire, then the 50th anniversary of Jedi. And
right.
Yeah, so it'll just be a never-ending vortex of anniversary celebration.
And with any luck, Rebel Force Radio will still be here. We'll cover it all for you. But we do have a really great show coming up. We've got some leftovers, some things that were left unsaid in our Disney Gallery review of that final episode of Mandalorian Season 2. Also, Robert Rodriguez, the showrunner for the Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett, he's talking, and he should, because it's just a couple of months away. We're going to be seeing that. And also a tribute to Ed Asner coming up. If you didn't realize what kind of connection there was, there's always a Star Wars connection, and leave it to Jimmy Mac. You'll find it out. And then we have a big installment of Star Wars and pop culture. So if you're a fan of that, stay tuned, because that'll be a lot of fun to get to. But we might as well hit it. Let's see what's going on in the news.
have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news.
Come closer, I have good news.
So if you haven't listened, our last episode of Rebel Force Radio was a live show where we took calls and we really, really looked at the Disney Gallery special as they took you behind the scenes of the making of The Rescue, Season 2's finale of The Mandalorian. And but there was so much, and Jim, the focus on it was Luke.
Yeah.
But there was a lot more to it than just that. So there's a few things that I think you identified that we wanted to go back and revisit here.
Yeah, these are just a few audio clips that I pulled for last week. And, with all of our awesome callers, we just ran out of time. This one clip is from director Peyton Reed, of course, the director of the season finale. And he explains an influence that I didn't really consider. But hearing Peyton talk about it, it makes all the sense in the world. There was an influence at play when the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, Baby Grogu, they separated. There was a film, a very well-known film that Peyton was tapping into for that moment, and he explains it in this cut.
I talked with John a lot about the ending of E.T., the way that you spend a whole movie with E.T. and Elliot, and then there's a certain point where E.T. has to go. And that whole ending where Spielberg goes around and you're just witnessing the emotion between E.T. and Elliot, the emotion of E.T.'s mom and brother, everybody in that scene. And it is, all through this amazing John Williams score. But I said, I think we want to introduce a little bit of that into the Star Wars universe. Like, let's have that, not be afraid of that emotion at the end of the thing. Because that's, to me, that was the win of that episode. And it felt like it merited it because to split up those two characters at the end of that season broke a lot of hearts.
Oh, did it ever? A lot of hearts. And, one of the things we talked about in our look at this episode was the sense of finality that Jon Favreau gave to the Din Djarin Grogu arc. He said, it's the culmination of this arc for these characters. I think that was actually the term that he used. And so we started speculating, like, are they that ballsy that they would walk away from this? Like, this is so bankable. And on the one hand, it's like, no, you can't. The cynic in me says you can't because it's corporate and they want the money and they want the license or the merchandise and all that. And then the other part of me goes, but wouldn't that just be the ultimate artist thing to just walk away, from something that's that big because it served its purpose? But
like E.T., never getting a sequel.
That's right. In the 80s, very similar. How did that not happen in the 80s where everything got a sequel? There were 4 Jaws
Spielberg.
Movies.
Yeah, Spielberg, I think Steven was a little frosted that Jaws sequels were getting farted out and he had nothing to do with any of those.
Yeah.
I don't think he liked that. And so I think when it came time for E.T., he exerted as much control as possible to make sure it was a one and done film. That was the story. And I'm surprised we haven't seen a cartoon show, the E.T. prequel.
Think about the 80s Saturday morning cartoons where they would take these characters out of live action and then and have them, like Alf, you think as goofy as that was, Alf had a cartoon, Punky Brewster had a cartoon, Laverne and Shirley and the Happy Days gang had a cartoon, everybody was getting a cartoon. And it would be wacky, slapsticky adventures. The E.T. cartoon never happened. And it was so perfect for it, but I was thinking too, Jim, the same thing happened to Spielberg with Poltergeist. That was a franchise that became a franchise. He made a one and done spooky movie. I don't think he had anything to do with the second one. I don't think.
I don't know. He was the producer of Poltergeist, not the director.
Was he? See, I always thought that Spielberg directed the first Poltergeist.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He produced it. But,
but when you go back and you look at how George was so hell bent on maintaining the sequel rights to Star Wars, you can kind of see why, because that's sort of where the industry was. And I think that happened to him with American Graffiti There was a sequel. I've never seen American Graffiti 2 ever.
Well, it's not good. It's
Right.
a bad movie, and it was done because of the deal that he had made with
Universal, right?
Was it Universal?
Yeah, I think so.
And so sequel was part of the language in the in his contract. So he was committed to it. And George did he didn't direct it. Obviously, he had stepped away from directing altogether by that point. He swore he
One and done.
Yeah. Well, 3 and done, but he swore he would never go back to directing after Star Wars because it put him in the hospital.
Oh, Graffiti 2 came out after Star Wars.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That I didn't realize that. Okay.
It came out I think it's 79, I want to say.
Okay.
Toby Hooper is the guy who did Poltergeist, by the way. I had to look that up. And Spielberg wrote the screenplay, created the story, and served as a producer on it.
Well, but the creative control, that gets taken from these guys, and I think it speaks to why George was so precious about keeping the merchandise rights, the sequel rights. Like, he just didn't want anybody to make decisions for these characters and this world, that wasn't him. And but yeah, it's fascinating to think about what is the future of Baby Yoda. And I know there was a lot of speculation going into Bad Batch that he would figure into that. We found out that was not the case. Likely, that it was Omega. But we still get voicemails and emails from saying, Grogu, or Baby Yoda's going to show up in this show or that show. And I don't know. I would say that if there were ever to be, obviously they're looking at the Marvel model where you establish these characters and then at some point, the Avengers assemble. So I would bet that maybe they would hold off on Baby Yoda for something like that, maybe like something that's like a team up or whatever you want to call it. Whatever Star Wars version of the Avengers might be, at least in the Disney Plus realm. So that could be something.
I think the most likely place to see Baby Yoda and Luke again could be the Ahsoka series. I have a feeling that they're going to cross paths there.
Well, it makes sense. She's the only Jedi, or I shouldn't just call her a Jedi, but she's the only major Force user out there at that time.
And, there's been some speculation based on those comments Filoni made in the gallery show that it's possible Ahsoka trained Luke after the events of Return of the Jedi, that she taught him swordsmanship and things like that. Again, that's all just pure speculation on our part.
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy announced last December that the shows are all going to come together for one big event. The stories are all going to come together for one big event.
That. Yeah.
Now, she wasn't clear if that big event is going to be a Disney Plus thing or if it's going to be a feature film or what the deal is with it. But there's some big event where all the characters are going to come together. Characters like the Mandalorian and his gang, Fennec Shan, possibly Boba Fett.
Ahsoka,
of course, and they'll all come together and they'll fight.
Maybe Lando. That Lando series is knocking around.
Yeah, that Lando series is the one that I probably am the most nervous about. I just don't know. I just never looked at Lando as necessarily a leading character. I just never did, and so he's a sidekick in my opinion. And at times kind of a two-dimensional sidekick. Let's get real about it. I mean, we all love Billy D. Williams, and we've all had a lot of fun with that character over the years, but I don't feel this urge to see the adventures of Lando. As a matter of fact, they put out Lando Calrissian novels back in the 80s. And I thought those books were dreadful. Now, I know there are some people out there who are going to be like, what are you talking about? It's the great. That's fine. I mean, I just did not care for those books at all. And I just don't know if Lando has what it takes to carry a series. So I hope they have some solid ideas of what they're going to do. And I hope he's not like, having sex with toasters or anything like that. That was the weirdest thing about the Solo movie. A movie packed with weird stuff was the inference that Lando and that robot were having sex with each other.
Well, wasn't it more? It was a statement by
L3.
Well, no. I know L3, but it was an off-camera remark that was made by what's his name, the son of
John Kasdan.
Thank you, John Kasdan. He was the one that started talking about Lando pansexual and all of this, and it was hinted at. I don't even know. Was it hinted at in the movie, or were we carrying those comments into the movie with us, and we were like, "Oh, that's got to be that." But there was sort of a cradling of her, and I don't know.
There was
it was an intimacy.
Yes,
it was.
Well, and this was after there was a sequence with Kira and L3, and L3 said that she was fully functional in that department.
I'm sure you've noticed that Lando has feelings for me, which makes working together difficult because I do not feel the same way about him.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I see that.
Sometimes I think, maybe. But no. We're just not compatible.
How would that work?
It works.
Oh God, I must have blocked that out. I don't know.
Yeah, weird thing to put into the film.
It is weird.
Weird to put into Star Wars in general. That kind, because as Kirshner said, a kiss in Star Wars is the equivalency of intercourse in other films. That's how big an impact any sort of romantic development in Star Wars is. And so then, and he's just talking about a boy kissing a girl. Now we're talking about Lando Calrissian, the guy who's been set up for decades as a galactic playboy, to be, such a horn dog in hyperspace that he has to be getting intimate with the appliances. That's just, and I've seen, ladies and gentlemen, I've seen the disgusting fan art that's out there. It's very troubling. But that's the mental imagery that you get when you think of something like that, because you have to consider it. Once it's been thrown out there, your mind starts racing.
And it's like, why even put it out there? Obviously, it had a great deal to do with pandering, and I think it was clearly a desperate move, and it was pandering.
Whole character was like that L3 character, and so it's just one of my turnoffs about Solo. I have many turnoffs about Solo. I'm sorry, but I do.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I think that I feel that there was enough there in that movie, to spin it off. With those actors, I would love to see it be spun off into a 3, 4, 5 episode, not a film series, but 3, 4, 5 episode something on Disney Plus. I wouldn't mind that. I'd rather that than something based on Old Man Lando or the adventures of Donald Glover as Lando.
Quite honestly, I don't like either idea.
You just want to leave it.
I just want to leave it
behind.
Yeah.
A lot of people agree with you. That's for sure.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Oh, what else we got here? Looking at these audio clips, something about John Williams music.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, Favreau talks a little bit about that because they used the Force theme as a cue when Luke Skywalker appeared in the season finale of The Mandalorian, and he talks about it here.
That's the first time in that last episode that we actually hear any music that's from the original trilogy.
Are you a Jedi? I am.
Everything up to that point had been original music by Ludwig, and that's the first time you could hear any John Williams music. And that also, let's never underestimate the importance of John Williams, because that's part of what makes Star Wars Star Wars. And so for us to not use any of those themes for any of the show and then to use it at this point, it's saving a very powerful tool that I think all of those things help sell the visual effect.
Yeah, I appreciated so much the fact that both Filoni and Favreau said that it wasn't necessarily about achieving the most perfect image. It wasn't about achieving the most accurate. They even talk about the compromises that they made in the costume. It's not the exact same costume. They talk about the difference between the black robe and the brown robe. And Filoni makes this point, but when you put all of those things together, and as Favreau is saying, and then you layer that music, like it sells it. And not only does it sell it, but it as they talk about, and as we just talked about, it hyped us up. It amped us up. The reveal. It was one of the most perfect entrances of a character in any film or TV show that I can think of.
I got that right. I never even considered it because it was it was a reunion, you know.
Yeah, right.
We were being reunited with the Luke Skywalker, and but yeah, what a great entrance, no question about it, and so awesome to hear the attention being paid to the music, the oxygen of Star Wars, John Williams music. But I have to correct Mr. Favreau. That is not the first time any John Williams music was heard in The Mandalorian.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah. You can hear a brief nod to Yoda's theme in the episode with Ahsoka called Chapter 13, The Jedi. She makes reference to Yoda when she looks at Grogu, and she says, I knew someone of his kind, you know. And you hear in the background, there'll be a slight nod to the Yoda theme. So I pulled that moment here. And listen very closely. You'll hear 4 notes from Yoda's theme being referenced when Ahsoka makes reference to Yoda.
All right.
I've only known one other being like this. A wise Jedi master named Yoda.
You hear it?
Yep.
That bomb, 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 bomb.
Yep.
That's a nod to Yoda's theme.
It sure is.
So,
it's right there. It's right there. And I think when we did the after show, I believe we did talk about that. I think so. It jumped out at us. But wow, you need to send an email or a tweet to John. I wonder if he's been tweeted that. Our community is full of comic book guys that are
I'm
quick
sure
to.
let him, yeah. Everyone wants to be the smartest
Favreau
guy.
episode.
But I just thought that should be acknowledged because John is just so adamant. Any John Williams, we've not heard anything. You do get that little reference. It's just a reference.
You think he didn't know? He's like, that's the night my DVR didn't work, or my Disney
that's the
Plus
only
froze.
episode he missed. I still haven't seen that one yet. The one with Ahsoka? Nah, that's a Filoni thing. I'm not really into it. But I like the original trilogy stuff. I don't like the Filoni stuff.
It is funny.
But,
I think, didn't Favreau on stage at Celebration in Chicago make a little joke about the prequels and how Dave is sort of turning him around on those a little bit?
Yeah.
That's another thing that I love when we talk about the honesty of Favreau, or just how, there just doesn't seem to be a whole lot of BS with him. He puts it out there, and I just think that's a great example of, I wasn't really wild about the prequels of these Clone Wars. And
To be fair with John, though, I mean, that's the first time Williams' music was really lifted like that and strongly quoted. The Yoda thing, that's just a mild reference, 4 notes. But it still is the 4 notes of Yoda's theme. So you can't say that was the only time any John Williams music was heard in the show, but probably the most obvious reference for sure.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. Those are great. All right. So Robert Rodriguez, the director of the Book of Boba Fett, recently talked to the folks over at Collider to talk a little bit about how this show is going to, as he says, blow your mind. Now, here you always want to sort of set expectations, and Filoni talks about that a lot, and he uses that as one of the reasons why they won't do they try not to do character reveals too much, like this character, like pre-announce this character is going to be in this episode or that episode, because they don't want the expectations to be blown sky high so you can't possibly meet them. And that makes sense. I mean, to an extent. And by the way, they also don't have to announce. They talk about this in the Disney gallery. They don't have to make announcements. They said because everything always gets spoiled. Everything always gets leaked. Ahsoka was leaked. Boba Fett, Tim Morrison was leaked. But Luke never got leaked, which is pretty amazing. I mean, think about it.
And the Baby Yoda secret was kept pretty tight. We did hear before the season began that a kid was going to be involved, and the Mandalorian was going to have to protect the kid. And that was the stuff we heard before the series even started. But I mean, just the shocker that it was a little Yoda type. That was just like, what? I mean, come on.
And there were, I don't know if we ever talked about this on the air, but there were rumors there were two rumors I remember going into Mandalorian. One, George Lucas was on the set.
Yes.
And there were multiple of Yoda's species.
Yes.
Well, those multiples probably turned out to be.
I swear we did report that too. Yeah. I think that was something we reported. We heard from insiders that was going to be happening. Yeah. Yoda's species, something about Yoda's species was going to be revealed. Yes.
Well, obviously what they revealed is that they're children and they age very slowly, or they age very slowly.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about Omega's age and, why she was older than the Bad Batch and why her aging is normal or even slower than the others. That's why I thought that Baby Yoda could be some sort of clone of some type because of the aging thing. If it's possible to speed up clones' age, maybe it's also possible to slow it down. All of these things. We talked about this, I think, on the Bad Batch after show. Omega being the mother of the clones, that's something kind of hard to wrap your head around, but I think that could actually be it. I think that the Bad Batch was created by using Omega's DNA as opposed to using Tamora Morrison's, right? Jango Fett's.
Right.
They're not using Tem's DNA. It's a character.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, I could use Zealand.
I could
in a hot tub.
I could use a little Tim Morrison DNA. That didn't sound good.
No, that sounded really, really bad, especially considering you're both sitting in a hot tub in New Zealand.
All right. I meant, That's not what I meant. Okay, moving on. All right, Robert Rodriguez talking to Collider about the Book of Boba Fett. He says, I can't say anything about it right now. Of course not.
Yeah.
But it's coming out in December. Wait till you see what's coming. It's going to blow your mind. That's all I can say. Listen to this. I can talk it up all I want because I know it over-delivers. It way over-delivers. People are going to be so pumped when they see it.
Wow. Yeah, so he's talking heavy confidence. I haven't heard anyone from Lucasfilm sound so confident about a project that's been yet to be released. The last time I saw this kind of confidence on display was when they announced Rian Johnson was going to get a trilogy before The Last Jedi hit the theaters, that's an announcement I think they wish they could take back. But I just thought, wow, that is some extreme confidence to be giving this guy a whole trilogy of his own when you don't even know what the reaction to The Last Jedi is And there was a lot of reaction to The Last Jedi. Oh, my God. So much reaction. And in the wake of that reaction, we've heard very little about a Rian Johnson trilogy. Now, Robert Rodriguez being very confident and hyped up about the Boba Fett story that we as fans have been wanting to hear for a long time. How did Boba escape the Sarlacc pit? That has to be addressed. How did Boba lose his armor? That has to be addressed. And why is he walking around with a gaffy stick? How many sand people did he have to, kick their butts? And was he nude while he was doing it? These are the questions that have been just gnawing at me that we need to get answered. And,
like, you want to see him out, like, kicking ass, totally nude, like Schwarzenegger in The Terminator, when he comes back into time and, I need your clothes.
New Zealand.
I need your clothes.
And he just gets in a hot tub.
Right.
So that's, what we saw, actually, that video of Tim Morrison in the hot tub, that was actually footage from Book of Boba Fett.
First episode.
Yeah. He emerges from the Sarlacc pit, no armor, no clothes, because the digestive juices of the Sarlacc had eaten them all away. And did a number. They ate away his hair. Mm-hmm. He looks like he's got scars on his ears and stuff, but he could have already had that sort of stuff.
We don't know
I doubt
what he looked
like.
like.
We don't know. We really don't. We don't know anything about Boba's history. I'd love to know how he got the Wookiee scalps. Wouldn't you just love to see him take down a Wookiee and then pull out a knife and start cutting off its pelt?
It might answer some questions. I mean, I don't know if this is... a
bunch of
desire.
porgs are sitting there watching, cheering him on, See, that's the type of show I would make. What other questions about Boba Fett do you have? Of course, we still don't know how he reacquires the Slave One.
Yeah.
And because the last time we saw the Slave One, Aura Singh was in it, and Ahsoka chopped the wing off, and it crash landed on Florum, and Aura Singh was presumed to be dead at that time, but she obviously didn't die. But where's the Slave One? Yeah. Hondo got it, and he fixed it. But how does Boba Fett then reacquire it from Hondo Ohnaka? That's a story that hasn't really been told. There's been some references to it in the book Dark Disciple, but it's still not really... It's still really a story that hasn't been told. And so I predict what they're going to do, because they're trying to make Boba Fett now into this anti-hero or even, the protagonist you want to cheer for. So that's why I think they're hesitant to market the Lego set as Slave One. And there's talk they're now going to be renaming the ship Fire Spray. And, I went on a little rant about this last week. But, emotions aside and everything, and nostalgia or whatever, or loyalty to the authentic name, I think they can pull a switcheroo and say that the ship we see Boba Fett flying in around in the Empire Strikes Back era and all of that, that wasn't the Slave One. The Slave One was Jango Fett's ship, and Boba never got it back. So he acquired the same type of ship, and that ship was the Fire Spray. That's how I would tap dance around it if you want to make Boba Fett a good guy. And give him a new
Fire
ship.
Spray, though, isn't that the model of the ship?
Yes.
I heard some people saying that, but that doesn't mean that they cannot make that. I think that's their attempt to try and tie in some pre-existing canon into the new name.
Yes. Yeah, right.
That's what that is. So
of course.
Right.
It's, like when Baby Yoda didn't have a name, someone suggested, it was a Patreon member suggested that, what if Baby Yoda's name is Minch? And I thought, that was interesting, because George Lucas's original name for Yoda was Minch Yoda. That was his name, Minch. And his last name was Yoda. And then George just decided to go with just one word name for Yoda. Yoda doesn't have a last name, as far as we know. He's just like Beyonce or Elvis, just know by the one name. But Cher. Yeah. Yoda Bono. Yeah. No, that doesn't have the ring to it that I'm looking for. But I thought that would be a really, that's just like perfect. Call him Minch. That's excellent. But Grogu is more, the name Grogu has so much more personality.
Yeah.
And the name Mensch, it sounds like Mensch, which, they say, oh, he's a Mensch. He's a wonderful person. He's a Mensch.
That's probably why he dropped it. He probably got on set with Kirsch, and Kirsch is like, what are you doing, George? You can't use Mensch.
Mensch.
He's like, no, it's Mensch. He's like, no.
I don't know if Kirsch would have taken it. If we're talking about Yiddish terminology and stuff like that, I don't think Kirsch really considers himself to be a practitioner of.
No, he was a Buddhist, wasn't he?
He's all into Zen Buddhism and stuff like that. It's not like he had any problem with his Hebrew upbringing. It's just that he
that wasn't his faith.
He didn't connect with that. Yeah, he was more into like Christianity and Buddhism and all kind of things. He was like a real student of that stuff.
Yeah.
And according to Billy D. Williams, that was something they bonded over because Billy D. was down with that stuff too.
Yeah, not spiritualism, but more spiritually minded kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. The only thing that Rodriguez mentions, by the way, he's the executive producer of Boba Fett, and I think I called him the showrunner at one point and the director. I think he is the showrunner. He's the John Favreau, I think, of Book of Boba Fett.
He's overseeing it all. I thought Favreau was.
Robert Rodriguez, executive producer, and they don't name him as a director. I don't think that they've named any directors for Book of Boba Fett.
I believe there are a few directors that.
Oh, they've got different ones, like Mandalorian.
Yes. Yeah. I think Rodriguez is doing 2 episodes. I believe that you might have a Bryce Dallas Howard might be directing an episode. Huh. Let's just see what the old IMDb is reporting these days, because we know IMDb isn't always 100% accurate, but it's usually pretty close when it comes to things that have yet to be released. So, oh boy. They've made this website so hard to use now. It used to be everything was all on the first page, and now you have to click.
While you're looking that
7 episodes, they're saying 7 episodes.
Okay.
That's what they're reporting on IMDb. 7.
Mm-hmm. I thought we had heard 5.
Yeah, I thought at first I heard 4. But IMDb is now saying 7 episodes, and that makes sense because at one point I heard that here's what we got on IMDb. Series directed by Jon Favreau, 1 episode. Dave Filoni, 1 episode. Bryce Howard, 1 episode. Robert Rodriguez, 1 episode. So you have, and then the series is being produced by Rodriguez along with Favreau and Filoni. So the 3 of them are involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really all I can glean. Series writing credits. George Lucas, 1 episode. Oh, it says based on characters created.
Yeah,
by.
right. He's going to be on all of these credits.
He'll get those. Well, he should always get
right,
those.
Of course.
Too.
Of course.
I mean, they still say on the Rebel Scum website, Philip Wise presents. Philip sold the thing, so I mean, I thought it was funny. I was looking, for you guys who don't know, me and Jason used to work on the website on Rebel Scum, and Philip Wise is the owner of that. And earlier this year, he sold it to some other guys, and it still says Philip Wise presents on the top. Of it. I could just see Philip demanding that,
for life.
My name stays on the front page. But good for Philip though. I don't think we've congratulated him on his retirement from Star Wars, but
how do you retire from Star Wars?
He certainly put a lot into the fan communities and stuff.
Yes,
so
especially in those early days. Days.
Yeah, my God,
there was no official Star Wars website. And we might have been better off in some ways.
No, I think you're right. That's an accurate statement. But yeah, so if Rebel Scum is still going to be brought to you by Philip Wise, then Star Wars better be brought to you by George Lucas.
Right. The one other thing that Rodriguez doesn't comment on, I guess that's a story now is when they don't comment. He wouldn't reveal whether he's coming back to direct any part of Mandalorian season 3. He would not. He would not. He declined to reveal. So that's usually a yes, I think. And so
unless there's like some negotiations going on or something, and he's trying to get more money or something, so he's playing coy with the interview.
Yeah, well,
so that makes Lucasfilm then think to themselves, "Oh, I thought we had him locked up for this. Now they got to come at him with a real contract, and he can negotiate."
Yeah. Well, in the last that we heard from Moff Gideon, what's his real name?
Moff. That's Giancarlo Esposito.
That season 3 was going to start shooting fairly soon. He said, we just finished Book of Boba Fett, and it's on to season 3.
Yeah. Well, I guess the Kenobi series is wrapping up shooting this week.
Wow.
And so that might open up some sound stages there in Manhattan Beach to start shooting some more Mandalorian episodes. There was something that pushed back shooting for The Mandalorian. And I don't know if that had to do with the Boba Fett or if it had to do with the Kenobi or if it had to do with Pedro Pascal's schedule. You know, we've heard all kind of things. But
we don't have to worry about Pedro's schedule.
Giancarlo said that, yeah.
We never have to worry about that. One time, it was a mop with the bucket right on its head. It was... Somebody get the mop. Pedro's not here.
There was a conversation on, I think it was in our Facebook group, and people were wondering, how you can tell the difference between Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian and then the stunt guys. Yeah. And somebody mentioned, well, Brendan Wayne he's walking with a gait much like his grandfather did in those films, like Rio Bravo, where he'd have his draw hand kind of dangling by his holster and sort of like kind of walk favoring that side. And then other people were trying to speculate when they can tell that Pedro is actually the Mandalorian. And I piped in. I said, hey, gang, I think anytime the Mandalorian is moving, you can safely assume that is not Pedro Pascal. Like, he can't even walk with the helmet on. Yeah, he can't work with that helmet. Yeah. So if the Mando is sitting there or if he's standing, it could be Pedro. But if the Mando is walking or running or doing anything, then that's probably a stunt guy.
Okay. Well, so hence Giancarlo's amusement when someone asked if they were waiting on Pedro.
When the ADR sessions happen, that's when Pedro.
Right.
But for the most part, I don't think you see much Pedro Pascal on the set at all. At all.
Hey, before we get into our big pop culture segment this week, we did lose a legend in the world of entertainment. Ed Asner passed away at age 91. Now, if you were a kid of the 70s, like Jimmy Mack was, you had shows like The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and then, he played the Lou Grant character, he was the boss of the newsroom. He was very blustery. And
what's interesting about those two shows is Mary Tyler Moore was a 30-minute sitcom.
Right.
Lou Grant show, in which Ed Asner played the same character he played on Mary Tyler Moore, that show was a 60-minute drama. So it was
kidding. Really?
Yeah, really shifting gears.
Wow.
Very much shifting gears. And Ed Asner won Emmys for both shows. Playing the same character, he won an Emmy for acting in a comedy series, and then he won an Emmy acting in a drama series. And it was the same character. Isn't that wild? I find that to be really wild.
It's like spinning Newman from Seinfeld off into a dramatic,
a dramatic show.
Yeah.
About post office corruption or something. Newman's going to crack
Hill Street
it wide
Blues
open.
of the post office.
Right. Newman's going to crack it open. He's wide open. Boy, that's funny. But yeah, so Ed Asner,
But he does have a
He
Star
has
Wars
some-
connection. Yeah.
He has Star Wars connections. Yes, for sure. That's what we always look for. And otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about him on the show. He voiced Jabba the Hutt in the radio version of Return of the Jedi. And I always thought it was like the most insane Jabba performance of all time. And why they needed Ed Asner to play this role, because it's just a guy like yelling gibberish Huttese into a microphone that's being fed into a vocal harmonizer to create that Jabba the Hutt sound. Eventide harmonizers are they're fairly standard equipment in recording studios, radio stations, what have you. And that's what creates that Jabba voice. Is there's a setting on the harmonizer that you can get that deep Jabba voice, and anyone can do it. But they got Ed Asner, and I forget what the reason was why Ed did Return of the
Was
Jedi.
he a fan?
I think he was.
Maybe he was. But his career at that point, he peaked in the 70s, and he got some controversy around various things. He was very big into the Actors Union. I think he was the head of the Actors Union, the Screen Actors Guild at one point. So he got involved in, he was always deeply involved in politics as well. Famously, left-wing guy. And comments were made. It was the 70s or the early 80s or whatever. And his career kind of took a tumble. And then he had this resurgence, like in the 90s and the 2000s. As sort of, I remember I saw him on, he'd appear as a guest actor on shows like The X-Files. And then, Up really put him back on the map. He placed, he did the voice for and he was doing a lot of voiceover work during that period of time in the 90s and the early 2000s. Played a lot of Batman characters. He was in the Batman, the animated series. He was Thorn, the lead, sort of the main gangster there in Gotham City, Rupert Thorne. And then you started seeing him in things like Elf. He played Santa in the Elf with Jon Favreau. So there's a little connection. But Jabba the Hutt, of all things.
I had read a long time ago that I think he did it just because he was tight with the director of the radio dramas, a guy named John Madden.
Not that John Madden.
No, not the football guy. But, not the coach. But I forget where I read that information. But so here's Ed Asner. He was in the Return of the Jedi radio drama is Jabba the Hutt. And if you never heard that before, we're going to play it for you right now.
Ooh, they're using the real dialogue too. Wonder what that script looks like. I need to look that up. Those words.
He committed to it though, and I buy it.
You can hear the performance under all the effects that are going on. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So and people are wondering why I didn't take it into the sound lab to deconstruct it, and let's just say there might have been a pass here or there, but I didn't get anywhere with it. I couldn't hear Ed's voice in there. Mm-hmm. So, the harmonizer really did a trick. And I think he's kind of doing one of these sort of things, you know, even adding to it a little more. He's putting on a voice. So, but Ed Asner, rest in peace. He was also, he did a voice in a Star Wars video game too. That game was Knights of the Old Republic. He played Jedi Master Vrook Lamar. Hello, I'm Jedi Master Vrook Lamar, and I'm here to entertain you. But I don't know anything about Vrook. I've had limited work with the video game. I do have. There is a clip here. I'm going to send it to you. It's on YouTube of Vrook Lamar. I'd actually like to hear this for myself.
All right.
Yeah, because I've never heard this Vrook Lamar before, and I'm really curious to hear Well, if it's the same as the Jabba the Hutt, he's like, bullshit.
Kunda is safe in no small part due to you. I feel certain that the administrator wouldn't have made it without your assistance. I may have misjudged you. There are a few of us left, but I do not even know if the others still live. We may be the last. We've been forced to divide our forces and retreat to places which will be difficult for our enemies to detect.
That's definitely Ed Asner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you hear Ed in that one.
Yeah.
And Vrook. But it's kind of funny to hear him talking. You hear his voice, and you're hearing the Star Wars music behind him.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty intense.
Vrook
Lamar.
That's a cool Star Wars name. I like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, rest in peace, Ed Asner. This is one of the, 91 years old. These guys, he's one of those that he's always been there. As a kid growing up, that face, it's just so iconic. And then my kids seeing him in things like Elf and it's just, you think they're always going to be around, these guys. You take them for granted, but
91 years old.
91. He had a good run, Ed Asner. All right, let's do it. Let's take a look at what's going on with Star Wars in pop culture.
Rebel Force Radio.
You've already made that Star Wars reference.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars parody.
I feel like it's been a while. It's a lot of times the pop culture stuff gets kind of put on the shelf for the next show. So it's good that we're getting to it. Star Wars and pop culture, which is where generally, if Jimmy Mack doesn't catch it, you catch it. And there's a Star Wars reference in it doesn't even have to be a current TV show or movie. Just it could be something that we missed. But oftentimes Star Wars references pop up in the darndest places.
Right. And there's just so much entertainment out there with all the streaming going on and everything. It's impossible for us to keep up with everything going on. So thank God you guys have your eyes and ears on what's happening. A show that's very popular, especially with the kids. The kids all love Rick and Morty. And I know a lot of adults who like Rick and Morty. Our own Paul Bateman, a big Rick and Morty fan. Yeah.
I see the toys out there, and I have no frame of reference for it. I just don't know Rick and Morty.
Oh, my kids love it. A couple summers ago, they had the Rick and Morty mobile at a comic shop on the north side of the city. So I drove Dylan across the city to go look at it. And the line to go into this pop-up store, this Rick and Morty pop-up store, was like 3 blocks long. I'm like, hey, kid, are you happy you saw the car? Can we go? Because I wasn't going to wait in that line.
It reminds me of the Goldbergs when Adam wanted to go see Kit. If you remember that episode, he wanted his dad to take him to see the Knight Rider car. So there you are, making dreams come true. You made a memory.
memory. I did, but it could have been a better memory, I think. I should have stayed in line with the kid and let him get what he wanted. But he wasn't upset. He just wanted to see the car, really, is what he wanted to do.
I mean, you could have just driven by it. Like, all right, coming up on your right. Keep looking. There it was.
It was kind of like that.
Oh, it was
we couldn't find parking anywhere. Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, okay.
We took some pictures of it, and then we had to split. Yeah, I should have parked and taken them in there and stuff, but I was a little overwhelmed by the whole situation. So, but Rick and Morty, there was a Star Wars reference on episode 5, season 6 of Rick and Morty. It was it's like a Thanksgiving show. Our friend Devin, loyal RFR listener Devin, tipped us off to this, and he said, you want to check it out. Because not only is it a Star Wars reference, but it brings up a topic of conversation that we've brought up on the show here over the years a number of times. And let's check out Rick and Morty and see what that's all about.
All right.
Sir, we've got Rick and Morty coming in what appears to be an unlicensed Star Wars AT-AT, or as the millennials say, AT-AT.
So it begins.
I didn't know it was a millennial thing. That's kind of funny. That's the divide.
I didn't either.
And I also had no idea until we started doing this podcast that anyone called him 4LOM. I never knew anyone said that. I was always just like, 4LOM.
I was a 4LOM guy.
Were you really?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess it makes sense because we didn't call him C3PO. Well, Jar Jar Binks did.
It goes back to the Kenner toy commercials. when 4-LOM was released, they called him 4-LOM. Well, they should have been calling him Zuckus because they got the names flip-flopped on those two. So that whole thing was a mess. But yeah, 4-LOM. And I remember in the very early days of my internet usage, we're talking mid-90s, I went into an AOL chat room where they were talking about Star Wars. And one of the topics was, do you say or how do you say 4-LOM or whatever? I said, I say LOM. And somebody responded, if I had to call him 4-LOM, I wouldn't call him anything at all. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, man.
Is it that much strain on your tongue to say that?
It's funny how people throw down. Now, if I had to guess, because you said you were influenced by the TV commercials, and what I lived on, because I didn't have Empire Strikes Back on home video as a kid growing up, what I lived on were the books on tape, or not the books, the story books, where you'd get the booklet and the 45 record, and if you were really lucky, you got the big one, which was usually like 2 LP. I think it was a 2 LP story because it was an expanded one. It was like an hour long. And it was a narrator, and the Empire and the Jedi one I just lived on, and having a memory that the narrator, when the bounty hunters show up on the Executor, I can almost hear it in my head now, where the narrator says, he's listed them all, and then he says 4-LOM and Zuckus. So yes. I think that may have come from that.
So.
Do you have them?
The album.
Oh my God, you've got the stories?
I have the story of Star Wars on vinyl.
Okay. Yep. That's I had that.
That's Empire. Story of Return of the Jedi.
Yes. I got to rebuy all these.
Is this the one
at the record shops?
Is this the one where it was a bounty hunter named Boosh?
Yeah. It printed as a bounty hunter named Boosh.
It doesn't appear that I have the Empire story. Look at this one though. I have also on picture disc the story of Star Wars.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah,
that's brilliant. Love that.
Yeah, baby.
I become over lockdown. I become such a big fan of vinyl again, and especially getting some like really kind of like high end audiophile. Vinyl is something I don't have at all I have no Star Wars vinyl.
Wow.
And I certainly got to get the soundtracks. They've done a lot of really cool reissues of those, though there's some amongst, and this was something I was going to email you about at one point, because there's some debate about what is the best quality release of the Star Wars soundtrack. And it's not some of the newer ones.
No.
You hear the differences, huh? On some of these remasterings.
God, yes.
Yeah.
Some of them just sound awful. I didn't like the way the soundtracks for the sequel trilogy sounded.
Really?
And yeah, especially the opening main theme, I think sounds terrible on those records. Just terrible.
What should we be listening for? Is it too boomy? Is it too roomy? Is it too distant?
It sounds too processed to me. There's something in the processing that my ears are picking up and getting repelled by. My eardrums don't like how it sounds. And I can especially tell this if you compare what I think is the best recording of the Star Wars main theme. It's the one they did for The Phantom Menace. And they used that recording for all 3 of the prequel films.
That's they only recorded it once. Okay.
Yeah. And if you compare that to the main theme from The Force Awakens, you're listening with headphones on, and you do an A-B comparison, you'll hear what I'm talking about. You'll hear the lack of clean punch that the Phantom Menace has. And I believe that has to do with the fact that somebody told me that the Phantom Menace was recorded. It was the last soundtrack recorded with analog equipment.
Oh, that could be very much the reason why. Very much the reason why.
Yes. Which surprised me to know that, to hear that they were still using analog recording in the late 90s like that. Because I had, that was about the time I shifted over to all digital. Believe it or not, even as late as 1997, I was still hovering over a reel-to-reel machine with a razor blade and a splicing block. And, doing it that old school style.
One of the places that I get my vinyl from still sells. So when they get the license to reissue an album, they will oftentimes reissue it also on reel-to-reel. There are still people out there that want to listen to albums on reel-to-reel. I will confess, I almost bought this for you. This was a gift. I actually had it in my cart. This is the 40th anniversary 3LP collector's edition of the original Star Wars soundtrack. Almost got this for Jimmy Mack for his birthday this year. And I watched a bunch of YouTube reviews, and they were all just kind of peeing all over it, saying it just didn't sound good. And there's one that came out in the early 2000s or maybe mid 2000s. They said is far, far superior, and it's one that you can usually find at a used record shop for just a few bucks. But it is like the best, apparently, pressing of the soundtrack. So you can go down these rabbit holes with this stuff, especially when you're talking about audio files and all that. But
oh yeah. I think there is a new pressing of the soundtracks coming out. Somebody tipped me off to this on Twitter, of all places. And by the way, you guys can follow us at RFR Rebel Force on Twitter. We really need followers over there. We've just been kind of treading water on Twitter. I think our listeners aren't really Twitter people.
I have a feeling that's the case. I think we're more Instagram and Facebook. What?
Reissue of the Star Wars soundtracks in Japan on vinyl with amazing old school artwork, album artwork.
Where do we find this?
I mean, really ridiculously great. You can find it
on the notebook. I can grab it.
I can give you this. I'll give you this. This tweet. How's that sound? I'll give you a tweet.
Good. Give me a tweet.
You want a tweet? I got a tweet for you. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to put this on the notebook.
I see it. I see where you're about to paste it. Man,
all right, there we are.
This technology is amazing. Yeah.
It's
I
highlighted
love it.
there.
All right.
So if you click on that, you'll see these amazing new Japanese pressings of the soundtrack. Now, I don't know what the sound quality is going to be like. And they keep putting these things out with like holograms on the vinyl and stuff. I don't know if that necessarily benefits the recording.
I think it's a gimmick.
It's a gimmick, but could it actually have some sort of bad effect on the recording?
Like, does it compromise the quality? Yeah. But look at that artwork. This is almost worth buying just for the artwork.
Yeah.
If you're not a Patreon All Access member, you're not seeing this because you could be seeing the podcast as we record it. But yeah, love this old school. That's one of my all-time favorite Star Wars posters. That's mainly because it's the first one I remember seeing in the theater and my brother freaking out and me realizing that something major was going to happen, which is that teaser
The Return
poster.
of the Jedi.
Yeah, Return of the Jedi teaser poster with just the lightsaber up in the air,
Yeah, oddly blue colored.
Right.
Not a blue lightsaber in the film, but because Luke's obviously using a green one. Did you ever think of that? That there's not a blue lightsaber to be found in Return of the Jedi. I think it's the only Star Wars film that lacks a blue lightsaber.
Yeah.
Is that a piece of trivia right there? Yeah. You could blow your friends away with that. What is the only Star Wars film that doesn't have a blue lightsaber? You could say, I guess, Solo didn't have one. Or Rogue One. But, not those. Let's just stick with the saga. Stick with the saga. Swake loves that saga. Because Josh Robert Thompson says that when he's doing his George. Like, I got a whole new saga. I was thinking about it. I've been re-listening to JRT and the Secret History of Star Wars. So since Rensler died, I And I have been able to acquire those making of Star Wars books on the Kindle, the expanded version on Kindle. I've really just dove headfirst into them. And I'm so upset that Jonathan is gone now because, I get these questions, I like, man, I really wish I could reach out to Jonathan, but it's also just nice to read his words, after his unfortunate passing and stuff. So those are great books. And so I've been really into Star Wars history and behind the scenes stuff lately. So I started re-listening to Josh Robert Thompson's narration of the Secret History of Star Wars audiobook. Yeah. And he did, he does the George Lucas voice throughout the whole thing. And at one point he said, yeah, it's going to be a whole different saga. And I think Swank cracking up like that, that's what I just imagined.
Oh, those little spins that George puts on some of his words, just cracked me up. Yeah. Hey, all right, what else do we got? Oh, by the way, for those of you, we were just talking about those Japanese imports. They are available on Amazon, and they come out November 3rd. I am thinking about ordering those, all three of those. Yeah. But it's all in yen. I have no idea what this actually going to cost me.
Yeah. It says it's going to cost you $5,940, but that's yen.
Right.
So
can I get a conversion rate on this?
Yeah, you need one of those. Yeah, and then they ship it from Japan too.
Yeah.
How does that work with Amazon? That'll cost you a fortune, won't it?
I don't know. I've gotten some stuff from. If it's on Amazon, I think that you pay less shipping than if you went directly to, the manufacturer or whatever. But the nice thing about listening to a Japanese import is that you don't know the difference when you're listening to it. It's still the same music.
Well, yeah, of course. The music's the same.
Right.
Could you imagine if it was all done with
traditional
Japanese instrumentation, It's totly Japanese. It's like bow, 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 bow. Yeah,
but I want to go. I do want to do some more research just to see if this is what mastering this is actually pulling from, or if this is a new mastering.
Mm-hmm.
They always say remastered, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're using a new master. They could be using an old remaster.
Right. Yeah. And it looks like there were remastered versions of the soundtrack that were released in Japan fairly recently. What year do I have on this? 2018.
Yeah.
The remastered Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi.
I'm going to post, just in case, there probably are some soundtrack enthusiasts. There's a YouTube video of a guy doing a really great comparison of two of the more popular vinyl editions of the New Hope soundtrack. And and you can really, he demonstrably shows how different they are and how one is superior. It's actually an interesting view. So I'll post that on the Facebook. I'm writing myself a note on the official RFR Facebook group, the YouTube video of the soundtrack.
Good call. Yes. So for soundtrack fans everywhere, check that out. Rick and Morty fans, check out episode 5, season 6. This sent me down a rabbit hole too, with the Rick and Morty, because I thought, wow, I bet there are a lot of Star Wars references in Rick and Morty. And I found a blog. It's like 15 times there were Star Wars Easter eggs in Rick and Morty. And none of them really paid off with any good audio. It was always like, yeah, this scene was kind of like that scene from Star Wars. It's like that, where people were sort of, it was a stretch, let's just say, some of these Star Wars Easter eggs. But if anybody else knows of any other Rick and Morty Star Wars references, let us know. Show at rebelforceradio.com, and we could feature them on Star Wars and pop culture. But we have something here from Sim. Sim is from Bristol, England. And Sim is hooked on the show The Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale. I don't know anything about it. I really don't watch much television. But
it's got the girl from Mad Men. That's the only thing I know.
Okay.
Yep.
Sim has been binge watching The Handmaid's Tale, which is a really excellent show, thrilling, deep, and nuanced world building. The setup broadly is that these women are slaves. Well, don't say that word. These women are slaves in a cultish, patriarchal dystopia, a future whereby America has been taken over and ceases to exist. Now and then, the characters reference something from the time before. And I sense one of them was a Star Wars fan back in the day. So it looks like, yeah, a lot of things have been wiped out in this dystopia future. And things like Star Wars cease to exist. Okay? But people remember it.
I don't want to live
and
in that world.
the character named Janine has made 2 Star Wars references, one very obvious and the one slightly less so, at least for mainstream audiences, says Sim. So he points us to The Handmaid's Tale, Season 2, Episode 8. When someone says the greeting, now see, this must be part of the world building going on here in The Handmaid's Tale. There's a greeting, blessed be the fruit. And you are supposed to respond to that greeting, may the Lord open. Okay. But Janine, she mocks it. She mocks the response. She mocks the greeting as an act of defiance. And being defiant, she also is able to throw in a Star Wars reference. So here we go, Handmaid's Tale, and be prepared for the greeting, blessed be the fruit. And then you'll hear Janine's act of defiance, her mockery in her response.
Okay.
Blessed be the fruit. May the force be with you.
Nervous laughter.
Hope I don't get killed by the totalitarian regime. So these people are obviously under the thumb. Oh, what is it? Patriarchal. Oh, I see.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is a dystopian future where Jason Swank is the world ruler, and he has.
Yeah, that's right.
And all women and podcast co-hosts are slaves in a cultish.
No, fire sprays. We call them fire sprays.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she's, she said, may the force be with you. Can I hear that one more time? I just like the nervous laughter at the
Blessed
end.
be the fruit. May the force be with you.
It's like, I'm new around here. Okay.
All this talk about fruit and opening and patriarchal and slavery, I can only imagine.
Yeah. So, Janine, and her T-shirt says Raylo for life. No, that's not part of it. That's not in the show. Not at all. As a matter of fact, they kind of come off as from their appearance, they remind me of like Amish culture. Of the way that they're living,
pilgrims
here. Kind of like that. I really know nothing about the show other than what Sim is telling us.
It's on Hulu, and I know I have several friends that love it. It's one of those shows that, like, once you start watching, you can't stop.
I bet Wendy Snyder has seen every episode. Okay, so Wendy watches. I mean, she absorbs television. I don't even think she watches it.
Well, she does kind of have to, right? I mean, in her job.
Yeah, she does.
Stay topical.
It's very helpful to her as a radio talk show host to be hip on what's going on TV.
Yeah.
And so there's another reference here, Janine again, and this is the one, according to Sim, that is a little slightly less obvious, at least for mainstream audiences. So I don't know what's really happening here. They're walking outside and they're preparing for something, and you'll hear the Star Wars reference get dropped.
Make sure she has good shoes. Okay? It's a long walk. I will. Red leader, standing by.
Oh, okay. Well, that's clear as a bell to me. There's no ambiguity there. That's definitely a Star Wars reference.
Yeah, and that's Janine for you.
Okay.
That's Janine for you.
I wonder if this is an emerging theme for this character where maybe she will be a rebel.
Yeah. She'll tap into the Force maybe even. Yeah. and shake up the cultish dystopia.
Well, spoiler alert, I've heard that in the big series finale, it turns out to be Sheev Palpatine who's been behind this the whole time. You didn't know it. You didn't see it the entire time. It was all him.
So that Red Leader standing by reference happened season 4, episode 2, if you are looking for that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sim. Interesting name, Sim.
Yeah.
And Sim is checking in with Handmaid's Tale, Star Wars references. If you have Star Wars references that you picked up in any form of pop culture, whether it be a TV show, a movie, a talk show, anything, hit us up here at Rebel Force Radio Show at rebelforceradio.com with your suggestions, and you might just hear it on Star Wars and Pop Culture.
All new Rebel Force Radio apparel and accessories are now available on our website. Say it loud and say it proud with RFR t-shirts, hats, mugs, phone cases, water bottles, coffee mugs, pajamas, baby wear, stickers, buttons, even tie-dye. Sizes for men and women. Choose from cool colors and styles. Visit rebelforceradio.com and click on shop to get your RFR gear today.
May the Force be with you, bro.
You must contact me.
Play back the entire message.
What message?
Message after the message.
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him. It's a trick. Send no reply.
Chut, guys. This is Jim Johnson calling. I had a question for you guys. Would you guys ever consider revisiting the original Star Wars trilogy? Me, like Jimmy Mack, who were there May 25th, 1977 to see the original trilogy, I would love to revisit the original wars and possibly talk about it, break it down, you know, from the old school. And I really love Star Wars, and I just thought it'd be awesome if you guys would consider revisiting the original Star Wars trilogy. I know you guys are busy with The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett coming and Obi-Wan and etc. But I thought it'd be cool for us old-timers if you would go back to the original trilogy and break it down. Maybe there's something we could find together. Anyway, I thank you for Rebel Force Radio. I love you guys, and may the Force be with you.
Thank you very much. It's an interesting question because I guess I look at it like breaking down, you know, the original trilogy is something that we do all the time because it informs everything else that we're breaking down. I mean, even if it's not even chronologically informative, it's still from just a Star Wars, you know, just a Star Wars point of view. I mean, it's going to be kind of grounded in what we know and we've learned in the original trilogy. But having said that, is there something to this? I don't know. Have we left anything to be unsaid about the original trilogy?
I'm just wondering what kind of format he's talking about. Like, does he want us to do commentary tracks for the original trilogy? Because we've been there and done that.
Yep.
And you can find that stuff at rebelforceradio.com. Just click on podcasts and look for film commentaries, and you'll see them all there. You never know. Me and Jason might just one day decide to sit down and do a rewatch and with some fresh commentary. That could happen. But like Jason says, about every week, I think we delve into the original trilogy quite a bit. And there's always some moment that happened that we end up analyzing here on the show. So I think we sprinkle that in quite a bit. I do want to correct our caller, though. I was not there May 25th, 1977. I went to go see Peter Benchley's The Deep instead. That's how I spent my summer. I had The Deep, the Marvel Comics adaptation of The Deep, starring Nick Nolte, and that was a great flick. And that was my Star Wars. It wasn't until late August when I actually finally got around to seeing Star Wars, believe it or not. Me and Billy Mack went with my dad. We got there late, 13 minutes late.
You know, speaking of Billy Mack, it's been almost 7 years since we did a audio commentary of one of the original trilogy films. Those were back in 2014.
Wow.
Looking at the dates. And so much has happened since then. And we had such a great time talking Rogue One. I think Billy Mack was on our Rogue One commentary, if I remember right. He did one with us. Was he on Rogue One or was he on Solo?
He was definitely on The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Which he didn't like.
Right, but that was that a freshie? Like we were just
yeah.
Or was that one we actually were sitting down watching the movie together, or was that something we like a post screening?
No. Yeah, we watched the whole movie.
We watched the whole movie together. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So maybe he hasn't done any more with us since then. I know we talked about at one point. Well, maybe we should do a rewatch of the original trilogy with Bill. So that could be something we do at some point.
That could be. Yeah. Definitely something to consider. We're going to go through a stretch here with no fresh Star Wars. Visions is coming out at the end of the month. That'll buoy us for a couple of days, but we're really going to need something to talk about October, November. So it's possible we'll be diving into maybe doing some film commentaries or something like that. That would be fun. Hey, listen, anytime we get the opportunity to talk about the original trilogy, we're going to talk about it. And I'll tell you this. Our caller was saying, for us old timers, but I find it's the younger guys, the younger fans who really enjoy hearing the stories from back in the day and all of that stuff. They love the perspective.
Yep.
Because they weren't around for it. And it adds a different dimension to hear it from the perspective of Star Wars fans who were there in the 70s when it was all going down. And I have a really strong memory for all that stuff. So, anytime we'll talk about the original trilogy. We anytime the opportunity presents itself to us, we will. So
yeah, I think we might have an issue on the website where that Rise of Skywalker commentary is not.
Oh,
it's not in that category. It's on the site. I know that, but it's just not in that bucket. But it is there.
Oh, okay. I'll take care of it. Oh, I see all the Mandalorian stuff is there. Solo's there.
It's the only one that's missing.
That's just a switch I have to flip. That's all.
Yeah, but they're all there. So we've done commentaries in one shape or another for all the films now.
Yeah,
except the Clone Wars movie.
Right. That had come up recently. Yeah. Somebody wanted us to do a commentary track for that.
Which I'm all for. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, because Zero's in it. I was just rewatching season 3 of the Clone Wars, and Zero the Hutt has some fine moments in that season.
I want to do a Clone Wars rewatch. It's been such a long time, especially those early seasons I haven't seen in a long time. They're so much fun. All right, here is another voicemail. This one looks good. Let's do this.
Hi guys, my name is Jim Johnson.
I think that's the same guy. We just heard from Jim. Okay, all right, Jim. Only one per week. One per week, Jim. With that said,
we have a Patreon message. Somebody from Patreon sent us a voice memo, and I put it in our regular audio folder.
Oh, here we go.
Louis Alar from Columbia, Maryland here. Been a Patreon supporter since the week that you guys actually started it.
This guy's calling from the space station.
Yeah, Mandalorian. So, one is hypothetical and one is in universe. The first is, what would Boba Fett's reaction be if he were on the bridge when Luke Skywalker showed up for Grogu?
Yeah.
The in-universe question is, what will Boba Fett's reaction be when Fennec Shand tells him Luke Skywalker came, saved us, and has Grogu? Because the last I recall, Luke and Boba don't really like each other. Have a good one. Keep up the good work, and force be with you.
Okay. Good question. Real good question. Something that surprised me about this version of Boba Fett, the Mandalorian version of Boba Fett, played by Tim Morrison, is that they have given him a layer of honor. He's not a thug. He doesn't come across as a thug. He's just a simple man trying to make his way in the universe like his father. But so there is something somewhat honorable about him. He kept his promise to the Mandalorian, is continuing to keep his promise to the Mandalorian. So does he have a legit beef with Luke Skywalker? Yeah, I mean, Luke Skywalker is the one that, well, no, it's really Han Solo is the one that got Boba into the Sarlacc pit. He's the one that turned around. Boba Fett, where? And, you know, Gaffy Stick went into the jetpack. Bad place for a button, an on switch right there in the very back. It's kind of, really kind of unfortunate. Easy. Yeah, what if he sat down in the wrong way, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I sit down on my keys sometimes and my trunk of my car pops open, but I don't have a jetpack strapped to me. But so I don't know. Jim, I don't know that he has a legit beef with Luke Skywalker.
Well, Boba was hanging out there in Jabba's palace. And he was part of that crew, and because of the actions of Luke and his gang, they busted up that crew, and so Boba might have a hang up about that. He obviously had attempted to stop Luke during that Battle of Carkoon, and he shot his grappling hook with the wire wrapped up Luke.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah.
So he obviously recognized Luke was a major threat at that moment. But yeah, was it ever personal? Or, you know, Boba Fett, he was just trying to protect Jabba and the gang. And he got pulled into a battle that it's probably uncommon for Boba Fett to be pulled into a battle where he isn't looking for a payday at the end. Maybe he was. Maybe he would invoice Jabba after something like that, but unfortunately nobody survived, so no invoices were sent.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, but there is a moment. I think there's a moment where the battle is raging, and I feel like there's a shot of Boba. He's not taking action yet. He's still just chilling, watching things, and then there's a moment where the battle gets to a certain pitch, and you see him walk, you know, out of frame, like he's going to go get involved. And of course we know he does get involved. So I think you're probably right. Like, this is getting out of control. I'm going to step in here and Jabba's going to owe me big time.
Yeah. So maybe a payday was his motivation there. Like I said, he just sent that invoice to Jabba and explained that he used so many laser bolts and flamethrower fuel.
I'm more interested in what his beef is with Bib Fortuna.
Right. Now you're talking. And I think that's stuff that's going to be explained in the Boba Fett series. His beef with Jabba, with Bib. Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, is he mad because the survivors of the raid on Jabba's palace didn't go out searching for survivors, or they didn't make any effort to kind of.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I mean, it's just, how did Boba Fett survive the Sarlacc pit? And I think that there's a story to be told about Bib Fortuna's and his involvement in that. And, maybe Bib was responsible for saving Boba and then did something to betray him after that. Or maybe, gosh, I don't know. But yeah, just to walk in, shoot him in cold blood like that and assume the throne.
Right. And I know that's sort of the way the mob works, but usually there's some history there.
Right. That's a good point you just brought up there. The issue that Bib has, or that Boba has with Bib. Boba and Bib. That would be a good spinoff.
So there could be a lot of things. What would be interesting is I mean, this would be a real mind blower, but like, what if it was revealed that Boba Fett in some way aided the rebels in that, I'm trying to think of how he could have done it. I guess there's no moment where, it wasn't like opening up the jail cell for, Han or anybody to get out. So I guess, because he could think, wow, I'll use these guys. They'll take out Jabba, and then I'm going to ascend to the throne. But no, I guess he didn't really have an opportunity to help them. So it's got to be something we just don't know about yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good stuff. There'll be a lot to look forward to in December, that's for sure.
Yeah, very, very cool.
What was his reaction to Luke? But again, I don't sense any animus between Boba and Luke necessarily. Outside of the fact that Luke trashed Jabba's crew, his sail barge, and everything, making it, Leia's the one who killed Jabba, though. So
right. So we'll find out. It's a good question.
Yeah, great question.
I think that, well, of course, we don't even know if Luke is going to cross paths with Boba. We have no idea.
Something tells me, since the
a lot of people are speculating, right, that this is the Book of Boba Fett is going to end the character.
And the character of Boba.
Yes. There's some speculation out there. I think I would say that there's a lot of people that are just assuming that have accepted this as being the finale for the character.
Huh.
I don't know that I see it that way. But it seems odd that they would do this one and done for Boba instead of setting him up it doesn't appear that this is setting him up for an ongoing series. We know that this is a special mini-series event. But that doesn't mean that if this isn't wildly popular that they couldn't put him in his own show. But Jim, as you and I, we've talked about, you've brought up, the problem of having two shows running at the same time, both about Mandalorians looking very similar. That doesn't play well to the gift givers and the kids and the, people that might get that confused. They all look alike to me, Alice.
Well, there's something to be said for that. Yeah.
Oh, that's just going to wrap things up here this week. Thank you all for tuning in, listening to the show. We really, really appreciate it. Just as a reminder, if you are not a supporter of Rebel Force Radio on Patreon, there's all kinds of great incentives to do just that. We've got the weekly full show audio. You get that in advance. Or I'm sorry, weekly full show video, pardon me. You also do oftentimes get a preview, sometimes a day, sometimes longer, of the show before it goes out to the masses. And there is the weekly full show video. So like right now I'm looking at Jimmy Mac. Jimmy Mac's looking at me. And so you can actually watch the show because we do get a little visual. We like to show off our stuff and give you some visual cues of the things that we're talking about. So it's always a good way to sort of add another layer of your Rebel Force Radio experience. And that's available at the All Access tier. There are also exclusive podcasts that you can't just subscribe to on, Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Shows like RFR Comlink, the RFR Q&A, which, man, have you been busy with the Q&As? I swear every day I'm getting a ping on my Patreon app. There's a new Q&A. You just released one, Return of the Jedi Part 2? Did I see?
Yeah. Well, no. That's Star Wars Oxygen. We're re-releasing.
Oh, that was an Oxygen. My bad.
That was an Oxygen. So we have 11 episodes of Oxygen now available on Patreon. You can't get those anywhere else. We just released a Q&A where we're discussing Star Wars: The High Republic. Yeah. And because I know I can't talk to you about it on this show because you're not reading it. And I'm barely on board this series at this point right now. I'm finding it to be a little frustrating, but we go through the story thus far, me and Matthew Rooney, and we have a good discussion about it. Also, we're releasing Clone Wars Declassified Remasters, We have 107 episodes now available on Patreon. We just released one this week for the season 5 episode Sabotage. Or do you say sabotage? I say sabotage. Sabotage? Sabotage. That's a reference to an old William Shatner recording outtake. I don't know if you've ever heard that before.
Sabotage.
Yes,
Sabotage. Yes, I remember that now.
He says to the recording engineer, "You sicken me." Yeah, I love that. Because I've been in that position myself a few times.
Mr. Shatner, it's what do you say? Sabotage. Sabotage.
But our RFR VIPs have been going really crazy lately. They're so into the show, and we just released another episode called Return of the Jedi Wax Packs, where me and RFR VIP Joe Dallas, we make a game out of opening 38-year-old trading cards, Topps trading cards, wax packs from Return of the Jedi. We turn that into a competition.
That's awesome.
And Joe Dallas is a lot of fun. And so we get to meet all these crazy characters who are RFR VIPs, and they keep coming back for more, and they've been keeping me really busy. And it's a lot of fun. It only takes $1 for you to get your foot in the door to join us at RFR on Patreon. $1 and you're listening right away. You have 80 episodes of RFR Q&A that you can access for just $1. I mean, I don't think there's a better service out there on Patreon than what we provide for our listeners. Somebody said that I am ruthless when it comes to releasing content on Patreon.
Insatiable, I say.
Insatiable. they say it's hard to keep up, and that's exactly how we want it. So, I mean, there is just a ton of exclusive content, and then you get all these opportunities to be featured on the show, like we heard with our caller from earlier who was talking about Boba Fett. He's a Patreon supporter. We have hangouts. You get to the front of the line during live shows when we're taking calls. And there's just so many great perks. And like I said, it only costs $1 to get in the door, or you can work your way up and become an RFR VIP, and you'll be hosting a show with me. So I look forward to that, and I look forward to meeting more RFR VIPs as the year goes on. But yeah, it's definitely turned into a weekly show in 2021. RFR Q&A, and I've been having a blast with it.
Well, awesome. So all that is at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Also, big thanks to our sponsor this week, Indeed, Indeed.com. Please check them out. Also, don't forget about Rebel Force Radio on YouTube, youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio. We've got all kinds of great stuff up there, and that's all free. 100% free. So you just go over to YouTube. Please subscribe. We like that. We'd like you to hit the notification bell. And here's another thing I've been missing. Jimmy, you ready for this?
What?
Because I'm not a YouTuber, but my kids are they're really into the YouTube. Leave some comments on the videos. Apparently that's a big thing that we're missing out on, because people watch, they don't really comment. We're going to encourage you to leave comments, because that really, really helps the algorithms, as they say, and it shows that there's engagement and there's interest in it. So then it's going to serve it up to other people who are watching, that other Star Wars content out there. There's no shortage of Star Wars stuff on YouTube, but I mean, we are the longest running and most listened to Star Wars podcast. I don't know. You know what? Those Star Wars and Direct guys, they still knocking around?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're not the longest running. We are the most listened to, though. Got the receipts to back that up. But anyway, all that is at YouTube. I mean, it's basically a repository, an archive of great RFR content, in addition to housing all of our live stream after shows. You can check those out. And that's also where we broadcast live from. So if we are doing anything live, that's where you'll find us. And we got classic interviews over there. We just put up the full video of our interview with Mike Quinn, 9 So that's now available. We've got
and I dusted off one from the vault, our interview with Nick Gillard, the Swordmaster stuntman from the prequels, and he was a cool guy. And that's an interesting interview. So I just dusted that one off and re-released it. It's available as an audio file only on our Patreon website. But if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll also find it there as well. So
yeah, and Jimmy Mac actually trained with Nick Gillard once.
I did.
Session with Nick Gillard.
Yeah, I was sweating so much. That's how I got the nickname, the Sweat-Eye Jedi.
I never forgot.
I was sweating so much. I think I was just nervous. It was like flop sweat, you know.
Oh, well, I mean, you're training with the master right there. Something relatively new. We've been releasing the full show audio as premieres on the YouTube channel. So you can, sort of like appointment listening. And you can listen as a group. And again, those comments are very much appreciated. So like and subscribe today. And as always, if you want to talk to us in between shows, we'd love to hear from you. Show at rebelforceradio.com is the email address, or you can drop us a voicemail at 708-320-1737. That's 708-320-1RFR. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you can find us there. And don't forget about the official Rebel Force Radio Facebook group. So oftentimes, if we talk about something like I was talking about the YouTube video of the guy comparing the different vinyl releases of the original Star Wars soundtrack. If we're going to post something like that somewhere, that's where it's going to be. So make sure you're a member. All they do is just ask you a couple of simple questions to prove that you're a listener of the show, and then you are in. And as always, the official website for everything and all things Rebel Force Radio, rebelforceradio.com. We appreciate you listening, no matter where or how you're listening. You find us wherever you find great podcasts. And we are streaming at places like WGN Plus, Jedi News, iHeart, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. If there's podcasts, there's Rebel Force Radio. That's it. We'll see you next time. Appreciate it. For Rebel Force Radio, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mac.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
Make it good.
Oh, how did I forget that?
I can't leave. I can't leave without saying it.
So. No, you shouldn't. It's probably bad luck.
May the Force be with you.